To another ranking video. This is the second video in my top songs for 1968. So we're going to run through the songs that I've chosen from 10 to 1. So let's get started with number 10. This was Fire by The Crazy World of Arthur Brown, written by Arthur and Vincent Crane, and eventually the two other members of the band got credits as well. It was released as a single on the band's debut album, and it reached number 1 in the UK and Canada. During live performances in black and white, promotional TV clips showed Brown performing the song while wearing a burning helmet. And the helmet was improvised with a leather skull cap into which was bolted a metal dish that held lighter fuel and sometimes petrol. The heat from the burning fuel quickly conducted through the fixing bolt to the top of Brown's head, causing him considerable pain, but it certainly had an impact. It was very much an example of psychedelic rock. There was no guitars on it really. Bass guitars distinguished it from many of its contemporaries, and the lead instrument was Vincent Crane's Hammond organ, augmented by an orchestral section featuring prominent brass. The singer's open proclamation, "I am the god of hellfire," became a stirring catchphrase, and the song ends with the sound of a wind from hell, along with Brown's trademark banshee screams. What a Wonderful World. This is a song written by Bob Thiele. George Douglas is his name as well. I can't work that one out. And George David Vees. It's first recorded by Louis Armstrong and released in 1967 as a single, but it topped the UK charts a little later and was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1999. Although initially not a hit in the States, it became a big selling single in 1968. At number 8, Born to Be Wild by Steppenwolf, a song written by Mars Bonfire, and he was in that band earlier on, and it invoked in both popular and counterculture a bit of a sort of a tribal song, denoting a biker's appearance and biker's attitude. It was most notably featured in the 1969 film Easy Rider, and it's sometimes described as the first heavy metal song, although I don't go along with that. The second verse lyric, though, heavy metal thunder, marks the first use of this term in rock music. As I say, written by Bonfire as a ballad. He was previously a member of the Sparrows, which was the predecessor band to Steppenwolf, which became really the plaything of John Kay. And Bonfire's brother was the drummer in Steppenwolf. And it's a great song, even to this day. It really stirs you up, and it's a roaring anthem of turbocharged riff rock. At number 7, Lazy Sunday by The Small Faces reached number 2 in the UK singles charts. It's written by the duo of Steve Marriott and Ronnie Lane, appeared on the band's concept album of the same year, Ogden's Nut Gone Flake, and against the band's wishes, it preceded the album as a single release. Lazy Sunday has a traditional Cockney East End of London music hall sound. It was inspired by Marriott's feuds with his neighbours, and is also noticeable for its distinct vocal changes. Marriott sings large parts of the song in a greatly exaggerated Cockney accent. And according to McLagan, the keyboard player, Lane's rooty-dooty-doo vocal lines were an imitation of a member of The Who's road crew. The two bands apparently had recently toured together in Australia. It's a cracking song though. Along the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix Experience, written and recorded by Bob Dylan, of course, and it initially appeared on the '67 album John Wesley Harding. For Hendrix, though, he began to record his version in early '68 with the help of engineer Andy Johns. Hendrix had been given a tape of Dylan's recording, and he decided that he fancied making a cover version, although of course it absolutely has very little to do with that original version. According to Hendrix's engineer Eddie Kramer, the guitarist cut a large number of takes on the first day, shouting chord changes at Dave Mason, who'd appeared at the session, and played an additional 12-stringed guitar. Halfway through the session, the bass player Neil Redding became dissatisfied and left, so then Mason took over the bass as well. And according to Kramer, the final bass part was played by Hendrix. Hendrix's friend, Brian Jones from the Stones, played the various percussion instruments on the track. And so then it was mixed by Kramer and Chaz Chandler. Of course, he was the manager of Jimmy. And although it took some time for the final cut to appear, Hendrix constantly overdubbing his guitar parts because he was dissatisfied with the sound. But finally got released in September, just before Electric Ladyland was released, the album. Of course, it appeared on that album as well. It's a wonderful song, and if you haven't heard it, have you been sleeping? Jumping Jack Flash by the Rolling Stones. It was released as a single in '68, very much referred to as Supernatural Delta Blues by Swinging London. I don't know what that meant. That was a magazine comment. The song was perceived by some of the band as a return to their blues roots after the baroque pop and psychedelia heard on preceding albums. It's their most performed song live. They played it over 1,100 times in concert, and it's very, very popular. Written by Jagger and Richard, of course, and it was recorded at the time of the Beggar Banquet sessions. Richard stated that he and Jagger wrote the lyrics while staying at Richard's country house when they were woken in the morning by the clumping footsteps of the gardener, Jack. And so he was walking past the window, and Richard's responding, "Oh, that's Jack. That's Jumping Jack." And so that's how the lyric evolved. I don't know whether there was any truth to that story, but it's a nice little story. According to Richard's biography, he also referred to the line, "I was born in a crossfire hurricane," and it referred to him being born at the time of the bombing of London in the air raid sirens of Dartford in 1943. Sounds pretty feasible to me. Absolutely iconic piece of work. Then Albatross. This is a guitar-based instrumental by Fleetwood Mac and released in 1968 November time. Featured on The Pious Bird of Good Omen, and of course it's composed by the absolutely iconic Peter Green. It reportedly Peter took some of the cues from Santo and Johnny's Sleepwalk. That inspired him to put this instrumental together, although there is some resemblance to Chuck Berry's instrumental Deep Feeling, released in '57, and Clouds of Joy featuring Floyd Smith, recording back in 1939, is also regarded as possibly having an impact on Green's Albatross. The composition and arrangement suggests a very relaxing C setting with cymbals imitating the sound of waves. Mick Fleetwood played his drum kit using timpani mallets to give that muted sound. It's very dreamy, and Green's guitar is wondrous. He did have Danny Kerwin in there as well, a young 18-year-old who was in Fleetwood Mac. It was recorded 2 months after Kerwin joined the band. Anyway, it remains their only #1 hit, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And it was at the top of the charts, it appeared to me, for weeks. You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman. Released in '67, but became very topical in '68. Sang, of course, by Aretha Franklin. Song was co-written by Carole King and Jerry Goffin, and there was also some input from the Atlantic producer Jerry Wexler. Big hit, and was revitalized after her death and became a huge hit again. That was 51 years after the initial release. And it's one of those songs that grows on you. And the sweet inspirations were on backing vocals to this one, the strings conducted by Ralph Burns. And she performed it, Rarita, at the 2015 Kennedy Center as an honor award for the inducted recipient Carole King, who's in the audience. It's mouth-watering. 2 in this top 10 chart from 1968, and it's The Dock of the Bay, song co-written by soul singer, legendary soul singer Otis Redding, and guitarist Steve Cropper, recorded by Redding twice in '67, including once just 3 days before his tragic death in a plane crash. The song was released on Stax Records and became the first ever posthumous single to top the charts in the US, and it also reached #3 in the UK. He started writing the lyrics in '67 when he rented a houseboat in Sausalito in California. The song was completed in Memphis mainly by the help of Cropper, who was a sax producer and a guitarist for Booker T and the N-Jews. The song features whistling and sounds of waves crashing on a shore. And at this particular time, Otis's popularity had skyrocketed following his appearance at the Monterey Pop Festival the year before, and he was supporting the album King and Queen at the time. Cropper made these following observations. He said Otis was one of those kind of guys who had 100 ideas. He'd been in San Francisco doing the Fillmore, and the story that I got, he was renting this houseboat, and that's where he got the idea of the ships coming in the bay there, and that's about all he had. I watched the ships come in and I watched them roll over again. I took just that and I finished the lyric. And if you listen to the songs, I collaborated with Otis in most of the lyrics on all of his songs. Nice little story, isn't it? You probably guessed it by now. Hey Jude, written by Paul McCartney. The single was the Beatles' first release on Apple Records after they'd left Parlophone. Hey Jude was #1 hit all over the world, basically, and it sold approximately 8 million copies. The writing and recording coincided with a period of upheaval in the Beatles following the addition of Yoko Ono to the recording sessions. The ballad evolved from Hey Jules, a song McCartney wrote to comfort John Lennon's young son Julian after Lennon had left his wife for the arms of the Japanese artist Yoko Ono. The lyrics encouraging Jude to pursue his opportunities to find love. And after the fourth verse, the song shifts into a coda featuring a na 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 refrain that lasted for over 4 minutes. The promotional clip for the single featured the studio audience joining the Beatles as they sang the coda, and it went to 7 minutes in length, over 7 minutes, the longest single to top the British charts up till that time. And the interesting about the lyric, McCartney used the lyric, "The movement you need is on your shoulder," And he then thought that it was a bit of a stupid expression in relation to the relationship he was having at the time with Lennon. And Lennon replied when McCartney suggested he drop that line. Lennon said, "You won't, you know, this is the best line in the song." And Lennon thought that the song was about him and not about his young son. Interesting. And going on from this, the strained relationship also reflected the four band members' divergence following their communal trip to Rishikesh for studying a transcendental meditation, which probably had some impact on the coda and the audience singing in unison. Okay, so that's my conclusion for my top 10 in 1968 with the Beatles song Hey Jude, top of the charts. Hope you enjoyed it.